Honourable Member of Calgary Southeast.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since last week, when I asked in this House about the changes in school transportation brought about by Bill 1, my constituency has been flooded with emails and letters confirming the same story. School boards are facing budget shortfalls because they can't collect fees for transportation, and those shortfalls are resulting in changes to bell times and more students being pushed onto public transportation and congregated stops, often at the increased cost of parents, both financially and emotionally. To the Minister of Education, are you willing to admit that Bill 1 has led to increased costs for certain families? Or are you going to hide behind the name of this bill and pretend that those families don't exist?
The Honourable Minister of Education.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for the question. And certainly, Bill 1 is to reduce school fees. It will put money into the pockets of more than 600,000 families across the province. And we know very well that we are covering those bus fees. And so if a school board is not paying for that thing, in fact, the government is paying for it. So, Mr. Speaker, there is, we need to make sure that we are working with clean communication on this. But the bottom line is this, that parents and families will pay less school fees in the fall as a result of Bill 1.
The first supplemental.
Mr. Speaker, given that the minister still won't meet with school board trustees, and given that this sort of meeting should have occurred prior to the introduction of Bill 1, but this needs to happen now more than ever, and given that the minister has so far refused to admit the negative consequences of Bill 1, to the same minister, will you meet with the school board trustees who are having to face the tough questions over Bill 1, and will you actually listen to those trustees and make decisions based on the feedback that they give you?
Minister of Education.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you very much for the question. And certainly, we have been working with school boards very closely. And in fact, I will be meeting with every single school board this evening. And so we will be talking about this very subject. And, you know, it's important to remember that Bill 1 to reduce school fees, the other part of it is to regulate the out-of-control school fees that this previous government let go hog wild over the last 10 years. And so that's part of what we're doing here now. And I'm very proud of how far we've made it so far. Thank you.
Second supplemental.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Giving a speech at a dinner is not a meeting and it's not consultation. Given that alternative and second language programs have been disproportionately affected by the changes in bell times and transportation, and given that these changes have resulted in families looking at possibly of $1,000 cost increase, and given that the increased costs and difficulty in coordinating pickups for different bell times are pushing families away from alternative and second language programs, to the same minister, can these families expect any support from you in choosing the education that best suits their children, or have you given up on diversity in our education system?
Honourable Minister of Education.
Thank you. You know, Mr. Speaker, in that sort of inflammatory language and misleading paths of describing things only serves to make things worse. We're putting in billions of dollars to meet enrollment here for education in the province of Alberta, and we are making sure that the students get the education that they need. We've made significant investment in education, and you know what? This is a regulation to regulate school fees. We're not going to let school fees go up in an act to reduce school fees. We're going to make sure that they are affordable, and we will communicate that information very, very soon.